Good morning. Or whatever it is, wherever you are. Alright, we have a mostly functional time control. There are lots of little details to clean up. Actually, I can't see a whole lot from here. Yeah, a bunch of roads at the end. So I had to kind of hack things up to get the map layers to actually start in the same state as we had things set up top. So I'd like to get that to the point where there's one place that sort of sets the initial state of this, and everything else will just kind of figure it out from there. So, following Elm philosophy of the model determines everything, that should come down to the initial value of this, which I probably have to let's see, fetch servers, fetch arcs. Some of that might end up sending that along. Let's see, the current time notice is really an Elmside thing to do this. Fetch servers does server list, which ends up sending. Oh, that's right, it doesn't have a server list anymore. Fetch monuments. There's a monument list, it's just server ID monuments. Yeah, so animated, anim overlay. So we want to send the initial state, and there's still stuff to be worked out as far as how it responds to that. But that's how we would like it to work. Private Passion Project? Hello? How's it going? I don't think I know you. How's it going? Were you doing some coding earlier? Some sort of passion project, I presume? Thank you. So I'm doing a online web map of a game, if you don't happen to know an R1 Life. We're doing pretty good. So after I started doing the biome maps, and then they started making it so it was not always the same world, the developer actually started publishing individual placement logs. So we can actually replay history. And what I've been doing is rewriting this time control because I used to doing a thing that was talking between front end and back end, and there was like some loopback effects. I got mostly done, but there was like a lot of cleanup stuff around that. Right now, I'm dealing with the fact that I used to default that time replay to off. For development, I had it on, and I had to change that in more places than I wanted to. Create arc, key placement layer. Yeah, so we initially add that layer. And also, what was it? The point overlay. Oh no, it's add to. Yeah. And I was trying to send. But are those actually the animated layers? Okay, that's a little bit borked. So it sort of tried to switch, and then it... But it's not actually hooked up to time updates. So it's like that is a time snapshot? But it seems to be at some kind of random time. Or I updated the files earlier and we're now in a different world. Hey, Quirky. Okay, so that is not the animated layer. I mean, that's not surprising. I had trouble pulling myself away last night. All right, so how about... Now that looks like it's... Interestingly enough, that one worked. Probably because it got turned on later, and... So when we got the... It was more of an overlay at the time. The message to... Oh, actually, it's not that. It's... Alternate toggle animated. So probably at the time that message came in. The anim layers existed and the arc layers did not. Well, I'm trying to polish up this time control stuff so I can link directly to a time before the arcs when I could actually do most of this. In order to continue developing the natural object layer so you can see all of the natural trees and whatnot before they get touched for branches and things. But I went to do that, and there was like fighting between the time control I was using and my front end about what time it was. So the linking to time wasn't working so well. I've kind of wanted to do that anyway because the old time control required me to essentially do like an array of 1 second of entries of every 1 second to do things the way I wanted to do it. This is just start and end time, and we can pick a value in between. I eventually do want to do more with this, to have like a, I don't know, like server activity graph, and you can like narrow down your range, and there's like a secondary display that's actually your time bar. But this is just to kind of get the time modeling worked out. Arc list. So leafset.arcs as a map time. Because that might not have been an arc before. Actually, I might not need to do that as much anymore. But that was kind of the same thing, in that we weren't able to use that information until we had the arcs. So either the JavaScript side needs to remember our last animation state, similar to how it remembers our last time state, or I have to arrange to send the animated command again. Or send it with the arc list. Since we're going to have to rebuild the actual arc layers. Oh, also, yeah, our time might change when we're doing this. Our time value isn't going to change, so probably we just have to remember our last anim state. Ooh. Or there was some place where yeah, toggle animation controls. Which is a... Oh, did I ever... Yeah, I know. Oh, you know what? I forgot I got icons for that. So that's going to need to do some stuff. But this has the means to determine if we're currently animated. But how do I reuse that? I mean, this is kind of a one-off thing. So I could just kind of do that, and then when we do... Because that can give us our current state. Update arc, set map time, update tiles. Create arc biome layer, add arc placements. I'm probably going to do one life. I keep thinking that maybe I should, because I have less gaming time now, I should maybe make Saturdays more of a gaming day to get through bigger things like Oxygen. And maybe do some one life in the evenings, but I haven't really like had copious time there either. So that would be something like... So you've been... And this is checking before we do this. So this would be... Yeah. I got into the pattern of doing mornings and evenings, so maybe I should mix it up on the weekends. But it's like... I'd kind of like to make more progress on this. I'd like to make more progress on games. I probably ought to make money somewhere. I probably ought to do more catching up on like email and things. So I'm just I've I've not been keeping up in the discords as much because like that wasn't one of those things that really went onto that I want to do more list. Actually, you know what I was doing these is to kind of keep these in parity. Now that I look at it. I probably want to say greater than 0 is a thing you'd want to say. Uh-oh. Map.each layer. Oh, you don't necessarily have a map. You are what? When the objects come in. Which might actually be after... Okay. Uh-oh. Yeah, one of the things I like to do is just set up a very tiny room with a hamster wheel, battery, and oxygenator, or deoxidizer, or whatever it is. Just so they've got a little breathing room somewhere. Attempt this in for now. Oh, yeah, dupes are not bright that way. You can kind of get used to the building patterns that trap them and avoid some of them, but sometimes you do a really big build and somebody gets stuck. You know, I have seen a one of the mods in the workshop is that will detect confined situations earlier and give you a warning on that. I haven't done it myself yet. The default state is false. Probably don't want to call it animated. We'll call it like Dana animated so far. Alright. Toggle animated, that gives us a status. Toggle animation controls is more strictly based on the layers that are right, because that could change what's available. So actually with the layer thing, that sort of makes sense. But data animate, I probably want to track anim overlay, toggle animated. Can I do this anywhere else? No, I should probably do this here. And then you can check. In theory, we could also do this. I mean, it won't necessarily work as much well for the startup stuff. Is it point overlay? But if I did change the initial value of that, then we could have these react appropriately. If we're animated, then we add anim overlay. All right. So that's that base map. And then if I go in here and change map UI, and make sure it's recompiled. Well, I'm not seeing the colored square effect from unloaded images, so I think that's good. Okay, that's showing all of that stuff. And then we do a full reload when that happens. And everything's synced up. Let's see, single point to set initial animation state. All right. Now, if we go back into the more of the time I was looking at, Okay, that doesn't even give me the option to do that. Because there's nothing to animate there. I'm probably never going to go back and fix that. If I... Actually, just when I show the controls might kind of fix that. Although, no. Not necessarily, because what I can do... I can come up here. I can turn on time. I can come back here. And what the heck is this? Okay, and we're back in this again. All right, so I can't toggle it back here. Although I could turn on a life data layer. Let's reset ourselves here. Although that should give me the range of the life data, which is going to be somewhere entirely different. Yeah. So that gave me a range around that. So, I mean, I guess we've got reasonable behavior in most cases. No, there was, when I had it here... Let's get back to arc times here. And then we went back. No, and we turned on time, and then we went back. That disappeared, this did not. So I was basing that control strictly on whether there are animatable layers, which is a thing that kind of only exists on the back end here, or on the JavaScript side. All right, so the current time is reflecting properly. Maybe this should hide. Liquid into the lavatory. I don't know if it's a technical prerequisite, but so you might need to research it. There are pumps and pipes. So pretty much the only way to get because you need to attach, go to the plumbing layer and attach pipes to the lavatory. And then pretty much the only way to get stuff into pipes is, well, pumps or other things that can produce liquids as possible side effects, but generally pumps. If you've messed with the gas ducting at all, it's pretty much the same system. So probably I should just hide this if it's outside of our current set range, and then if that's not appropriate, we've got other problems. So if our current time is outside of our set timeline range... So view can set the map time. Is that from find start? Input slider. Oh, that's from the drag events itself. Okay, well that one we shouldn't need to worry around about because that shouldn't go outside our range. It shouldn't. Generally be in equals. Hey, also liking. I am trying to clean up my new time slider control, which you can't really see in its current state. Okay, that's too far. Oh, I'm just too far out to see. Detailed stuff. Where are we seeing a map here? Oh, there's some of it. Uh-oh, did I break something? Oh, there we go. That was interesting. It usually updates pretty fast. Uh-oh. Yeah, you can occasionally have those colony collapses. Now, the game does do autosaves, so if you don't mind the save scumming. Ooh, that was actually showing an appropriate time there. Oh, this is like a micro arc. That's more interesting. Although this looks like an inappropriate arc. No. Oh, I've got a desync here. Hmm. That might have just been an arc change. But I am not setting my time range appropriately, it appears. Bot to talk to a game. Well, you want some way to talk to it. Now, a WebSocket will be appropriate if you think the client would be a web page or, something. I guess if anything else has a library that does WebSockets. But I think WebSocket is technically a little bit extra on top of an ordinary network socket. So if you can get that working, you have to decide which is the client, which is the server. Might be easier to make the mod the client and talk to the bot. Assuming the bot, is just a program that can be a server. If it's more of a web page, then you'd probably want to have the mod act as a server if you can. I've considered sort of like writing to files, assuming both have that option as sort of a cheap, quick and dirty, low bandwidth. Well, not necessarily low bandwidth, but you have to do polling on both sides, so it's high latency, I guess. Way to communicate. You generally have to look at what facilities are available to get information in and out of both sides. But yeah. I don't know about easier ways. It's going to depend a little bit on the environment on both sides and what tools are available. Like, does the mod environment have a way for you to connect to network? Does it have a way for you to make a server? What kind of bot do you have? Like I've done some simple bots that are just web pages. So yes, connecting to a WebSocket would be the easiest way to do that. On that side of it, in memory. Well, yes, but if the mod has access to file APIs, it could write out files for communication purposes, or read files to get commands. But if you want to pass the information back, you'd have to have some way to write that. Yeah, so that unfortunately it's very highly dependent on your mod environment, and I'm assuming the bot is more of a straight up program that could do whatever it wants. It might have a WebSocket library, but I think that there is like a little bit extra to make a WebSocket beyond just a network socket. Yeah, distinct from HTTP. WebSocket has a handshake with an HTTP upgrade. So yeah, you'd have to deal with all that if you wanted to use. Okay, well, Node probably has a WebSocket library, but it can also, I'm sure it can also do ordinary, just straight up network sockets, or network connections. Whereas if you want to be a WebSocket, uh, looks like it starts at an HTTP. There's an upgrade handshake. Now on the Node side, you probably got a library, and maybe your game framework has a library for that too. In which case, sure, it's the tools are there. But if either of those was not available, you'd have to be doing this stuff yourself, which might not be so much fun. So yeah, it really comes down to what tools are available in each environment, where you can find a compatible set. It's I mean, if you've got WebSocket libraries, it might handle some stuff for you. If you don't, then you're going to have to implement this handshake yourself on at least one side. And any other like connection management stuff, like maybe they do protocol handshake. I mean, this doesn't look particularly hard, uh, but you do have to manage it. Uh, I mean, for a chatbot, probably proxy traversal isn't an issue. I don't see anything about like a polling step to to check for dead connections. Uh, yeah, so I mean, it's not hard. It's just extra stuff you have to do if you want it to be, a WebSocket per se. All right. So we set time when we hit play. Yeah, I mean, it's a very similar idea, but OBS WebSocket is WebSocket specifically so that web page based things can talk to it. Anything else that implements WebSockets can also talk to it, but it's specifically that protocol because that protocol is in browsers. If you don't have a browser involved, there's no compelling reason to choose WebSockets as your protocol. There could be other library availability because that's a common target that might make it a drop-in thing. But yeah, it kind of comes back to what interfaces can you find that are compatible again. See that's checking equal. Okay, so if I hit play, that was just to reset to end. Otherwise, we're at map time, so that's not actually setting it. Ah, yeah. WebSockets are kind of they're an upgrade. They're implemented as an upgrade to HTTP, which is running over a regular network connection. So I mean, it's just like one level of abstraction higher, and you may or may not need. So. All right, if we select a server, we make sure that our map time is in range. Okay, so why was I doing this? if we set our map time to something outside of our current time, then we may need to turn off our timeline, or at least hide our timeline. So right now, timeline, I think is strictly in Wooly. Thank you for the follow. Our timeline is strictly based on data animated. It might be reasonable to turn off animated if I'm changing my start time outside of my range. I guess I'm just concerned about interactions if we're like in the process of loading a animated life layer or something. Yeah, like we're fetching data for time, which is going to come back and change our range. So that one will actually be kind of okay. Leaflet.data range, which sets our time to the range. That's fine. Arc list, which sets our time range. Playback, which is within there. Set time, which we call from places. Time route. Alright, so time route and set time. Which is going to be most of the things that I'm actually concerned about, I think. As far as interactive. That sets time range, so it's fine. Current time. If we go outside of our current time range, well, there was one place I did this where we set our time range. Oh, but it's getting past a model, which has the updated time range. So I need to know. Now, I don't want to just say data animated equals in range, because we might not be animated at the moment to begin with. So it would be like current value and time is in range of that. That's a maybe, though. So I don't have an easy way to get into my min and max values. Maybe I can map from range to a maybe data animated type of thing. model dot time range maybe dot map. Yeah, she doesn't like that. If it's there, it's a tuple of a min and a max. Which we want to pass to, it's like, is in range. Start and POSIX. Then so this is testing. So is in range is going to say that we are possibly valid for animation. If we have no timeline, I guess that would be invalid for animation. And then we still want to say, so data animated equals model.data animated and animatable. So we can turn it off, but we can't turn it on. All right, so our setup for this is, well, that wasn't a super appropriate start time there. All right, so we're in there. We turn this on. And we go back here, and we're no longer animatable. Now, I guess I should check. That's not messing us up. As long as we're staying... Oh. I think it is messing us up. Yeah. Because I'm going outside my current range. And we probably have not... Okay, select arc. I mean, the map is updating to match things appropriately, but we're not actually like selecting an arc. Well, no, I mean, that makes sense. If I'm browsing by arc, then, well, we still reset because we changed the time and then we get the arc information. Course time, start time, hours before. We set our time range to start end. Oof, your last guy die? I mean, it's pretty ordinary to have the first colony not go so well. Oh. Okay. Well, I don't know. I didn't mind having pips around in my game. Now, I had trees to feed them. But they actually produce dirt. Ah, okay. Which was always a limited resource when I played the earlier versions. So that should be valid. Not console.log. Just false. Well, what is your issue then? That's an interesting ordering. Okay. Okay. 1, 5, 6, 7, 9, 9. I actually expect this to be very, very close to, yeah, 3, 2. Is my argument order wrong? Arc start, arc end. Oh. Okay. Oh, that means that one's wrong too. I tried to do something interesting with my argument order here. Time selection for time. Well, that's probably messing up some stuff. Oh no, arc. Oh no, time, arc start, arc end. Okay. I didn't notice that. They're all POSIX, so... I mean, I guess I could get this thing to take a time range format. It'd be a little bit trumped up for the others, but it might make it a little clearer what's going on. Okay, so now that's true. Okay, as long as we move in there, we're good. If we go beyond... Well, this is only arcs, so... Okay, that's in strict arc range, and... it's not looking good. Okay, so you got 1, 5, 6, 4, 4, 608. 3, 9 to 4, 4. Oh no, to 6, 6. 6, 6. So we probably... Is this changing? Yeah, my time range is not updating here. What's time range? Time selection. Okay, this is for this time range. If I'm in animated mode, and I'm in a range where I can like get a time, well, yeah, not necessarily, because what if I'm in data mode? So like this makes sense to, which is pretty much how it worked before. It's just that this will actually, right now, completely turn off animation mode. Which, I mean, I guess we should be able to turn it back on. Oh, or is this... No, that was like a total change. Yeah, that's out of sync. So that used to follow directly from the layer we're displaying. But I think that is being done completely on the JavaScript side. How do we... We're not really picking a time range anymore. We are picking a base map. Base layer by time. Yeah, so all this logic is down here right now. Well, we have the logic to go from we have the logic to go from arc to a time range. Do we have the logic to go from a time to an arc to a time range? Well, sort of, because if I flip back here, I kind of want to be able to match up with that. What did I call that? Select time mode is when that's going to change. That itself doesn't do anything. Is it possible that when we change our course start time, we are trying to keep that synced up? No, we're not really doing anything for that. I know I did some translation between these systems. Oh, maybe that's... No, yeah, that's time mode. Oh, yeah, there's time selection for time. That changes on server list, and that's it. Actually, I wouldn't want to do it necessarily while dragging because... But that might be reasonable to do. When changing modes? Well, no, because that actually changes my time mode to a specific thing. I want to do some of this logic depending on the time mode we change to. I might want to actually do like current arc. No, I kind of want to only set time range on a player selection because we might also have a data layer up, which it's not valid for this area, but which sets its time range. We probably do want to set current arc. Switch the direction of a liquid bridge. So you will want to become familiar with the rotate key, which is by default O. You can rotate. Well, bridges are one of the more common ones, but like gas filters. Some buildings can be flipped back and forth, like the water sieve, the exploded clean water. I think usually when you're placing something, it will say O to rotate if you can. So I want something that's like just most of this that doesn't change my time mode and doesn't set my time range. Oh, I see. I was thinking maybe do it off set time. But this is if we pick an arc, right? So that sets our start time. That sets our start time to arc start. So that would be extra computation, but it shouldn't hurt anything. Let's see. So you're probably kind of like this, actually. So that will keep you somewhat synchronized. Okay, we're not going to set that. We're not necessarily going to set that. We promised to return a model command message. Our time for selection for time only returned a model. Command none. Showtime notice. So you probably don't. Set current time. Yeah, you just do the time and it figures stuff out on its end. So I don't think we actually need the command message here. That's just a model operation. This could actually just return an arc number, and then things that want to do that can do that. Including set time. How much of a model do we need here? We need model arcs, which is a list of arc. And I think current arc is just an index. No, it's a maybe arc. And, oh, you are a remote data list of arcs? Maybe arc. Maybe arcs, maybe arcs. And then I think this had a, actually skipped a case here. Oh. Do we want to go back to nothing selected? Or do we want to leave it alone? You know what? New arc is a maybe. So that does simplify that nicely. And this is set time, so it should be a no-op if we already have that time set. And that should take care of most of the places where that would be an issue. All right, so if we do this, we move around a bit, we go back to here, seems reasonable. Now, if we just open time here, okay, so our initial state's okay. But that's not so good. I might need to have time range be some sort of modal, like enumerated type, custom type, that says, are we following the current arc, in which case we can update it anytime time changes to match that. Or Are we on life mode? Do we last set our range by setting lives? In which case we want to follow that. Now, I might have information about whether this layer is visible in here. All right, we've added some time synchronization here. Also, I borrowed some code here. Well, new arc is a maybe arc. But we've already done our case model arcs here. I would just have to pass the data arcs back to it again. And then we did need this in both places. We want a reasonable result whenever we open time. Actually, do I get... Actually, I do get toggle animated. But I might... Oh, I left a bunch of debugging in. Actually, it was for set time, wasn't it? Toggle animated. So that just sets the animation status. But we'd still have to know... Toggle overlay. I know I sent some overlay add, overlay remove. So I'm not currently tracking that, but I could. Because I actually don't have any Elm state about whether that's up or not. And if we went and turned this off here, that would be sort of like a hidden variable in terms of determining, just in terms of what was the last thing that set our time range. If you did that, turned it off, move, well, I mean, that will update it, moved around, and then opened this, you'd probably expect this to be arc. The larger version of this would help with that a bit, but it's a big project. So it really kind of is, are we in life data mode or not? Is the only other thing that would really be setting our range. All right, so we got that. We got monument-specific monument layers, which, oops, we don't really use anymore. But I'm relying on you to fetch monuments. Maybe it's a different thing behind the scenes. But that would put this down. Well, these still need to track it. Like this one can track life data. This would be monuments, so we wouldn't be that concerned about it. All right, so we've got current arc, data animated. Arcs, monuments. Data layer is the data itself. Which anytime model.map time equals nothing, require recent, require selected. So we do nothing if we currently have it. Which means that we are like saving that information. So I can't. I could blank the data every time you hide the layer. You have to go fetch it from the server again if you request it again. But I kind of meant that just to be a toggle and only to like load something if there was nothing there. So I don't think I can use this status as the same thing as is it showing right now. Okay, so this is a lot of our actual data. Hello. Good morning, good night, whatever it is, wherever you are. So I keep calling that data, even though I'm kind of using this for other things. Okay, so you're only an hour ahead of me. We probably at least name the new things better. Is that a statement or a question? All right, so we already know that whenever we require lives, statement, okay, yes. Oh, what are you doing? You're returning a model on a command message. So I could just push this down to these two individual functions. They're updating the model anyway. Oh, no, but, it actually gets a little bit noisy to do that. All right, so that is always going to go through the, we added the layer path. If we, there's the whole decision of how you order this for overlay add or for individual layers. Okay. So if life data is visible and we change time to where we have an arc, we want to update our time range to that. So that actually goes back more towards what the other thing was doing, where we set multiple fields. No, we were looking for selection for time did this. And we don't want to do that. We do want, well, that's kind of a maybe map in that scenario. And more than I thought. Then we pretty much leave it alone. Else, okay, now I need to have this as a variable. Now marc, maybe arc, maybe dot map. From an arc. An arc.start, arc.end. And that may have not been an arc. Now time range is a maybe. So if we're not in an arc, then we're not going to have a valid time range. Which might actually be another useful constraint for showing the player. All right, so we want to know if we pick some arc and we open this up. that seems appropriate. If we pick a new arc, yep, too far. That actually turned everything off. That seems somewhat appropriate. If uh-oh. Okay, I did a request. No response data. Oh. Response. Okay, it's just very slow. It doesn't like drawing that. Maybe my time range is... Oh, I'm in animated mode, so you don't see it. Okay, so that seems reasonable. Oh, we may have gone beyond our available arcs. And we actually pass over multiple arcs, and that's not affecting anything. So we've got time data up. We ended up turning this off. This is still that range, even though we dragged some stuff around there, which is a little weird. And then if we turn this off and then do an update. Okay, well, that did something, but we seem to be in a valid range, so it might still be a little bit funny. So the other thing, so interestingly enough, we're saying if it's in our current range, but then we're setting this, so I think we might actually end up being able to do is say if it's animated and model.time range is not equal to nothing, then we can show a timeline. And whether we are in animated mode, well, I guess we kind of drop out of animated mode. Since we're not actually able to do stuff. Because that's usually your signal about what mode you're in. Oh, you know what? This... I kind of can't do this anyway. Because if there's a life data visible in the past, well, no, this is just in range of anything. But we may have reset our range. Model.time range, maybe arc. I mean, I guess if life data was hidden, we all wouldn't necessarily have a range. Maybe I could treat the maybe state of time range as this state? No, because I still have to be able to toggle this on. And then I'd have to be like looking at whether to update it during things like this, which maybe. But this logic's starting to bother me. Probably gonna have to use it for a little bit and see where it feels off. All right, so I think yesterday mode might be broken. That doesn't seem to do anything to our base layer. It hasn't started playback. And my time doesn't look right. What about if we fresh load into it? Well, oh, we didn't even. Well, now I'm in URL edit mode, so it's not necessarily doing the updates. Yeah, okay, so that's just completely rusted. All right, so is yesterday. Okay, if we were viewing. There's the yesterday thing. So if we're viewing data layer, yesterday route, then we set it, and then that is for determining if we should put it in the URL later. Data layer equals loading, time mode equals from now, data animated equals true. That should end up setting our overlay. Fetch recent lives. That will end up setting our time range. So we did end up in animated. Oh, okay, well, maybe that did work. Okay, so for loading up, from clean, that might be okay. Question then is, if we go back to this, I just need to be able to see the URL better here. Okay, so it took that a bit to show up. Yeah, we have a new method of triggering playback. So fetch recent lives. It's just a data layer. You know what? There was a bit of code I took out, and I think it may have been in the data layer response. Yeah, there's a command batch here. I was saying, well, if it looks like we're probably in yesterday mode, go ahead and start playback. But I was having trouble thinking my way through the... Oh, I forgot to do an amend there. Oh well. And that was something yesterday, I think? It's going to be mostly icon stuff. Yeah, if data animated, when we get data, then we need to start playback, which we were doing some time set stuff too, which we may have to look into. So right now, starting playback means player equals playing map time. If we're at the end restart, which isn't going to be as big of a deal necessarily for yesterday mode. So there's not even a command there. Now, it is not a Boolean itself. Okay, yeah, the pipes and stuff take a little while to get figured out at first. If we load a data layer while playing, if we're already playing, it's going to be data animated. Probably fine. So you are not playing. Are you playable? Okay, well that's definitely something. Oh, because this also sets it to super slow mode. Okay. So yeah, that's... We're loading, we're loading. Oh, we got out of there somehow. Okay, we are not playing. Oh, wait. Did not look at the compiler. Okay, we also we're losing our yesterday tag here. Okay. Clicking on it does start the process. That worked. Hmm. That was not so happy. I mean, it mostly worked, actually. So part of it here is we almost don't want a time in the URL, but usually that is there. Oh, so we're not actually... Oh, our player is not updating the URL. Okay. So we have current time, we have playback. Is it change route to... No, that's doing all the side effects of doing that. Navigate, is that push URL? Not push URL necessarily. Has to be some navigation. Replace URL. Model.map time. Command.batch. All right. Navigation, replace URL, navigation key. Center URL, model.location, time. Is yesterday, model center. Okay, that lost yesterday. This thinks we're going to play back. This is not playing. What? Hmm. That is the Rift, yes. And maybe when I get to doing natural map stuff, I will try to do the actual Rift tiles as part of that. Did my server get overloaded here? Or maybe that's a zoom level we didn't have. Oh, we're not in yesterday mode, so we're just not going to do that. Okay, so that kind of playback was working. In general, oops, that was server, but okay, that works. But, okay, we're getting playback events. So we don't do anything if there's no map time. Yeah, we're not advancing here. Oh, you know what? I've probably got a update loop. Where we update this time to seconds, dropping everything we change, because it's giving me very, very fast frames here. I actually kind of wish I could change that. I might go back to regular timers so I can control my frame rate. So we're losing all of our time precision here. So this is a speed of update problem. Coupled with setting the loop back on setting the URL. So I think what's happening is that we tell this we want to update our URL, which is going to cause a current URL message, which is going to change our route and reparse all of this stuff. So our time route needs to right, so it's not equal. So we have to actually say that was a maybe time. I mean, pip wrenching shouldn't be too hard, but yes, the game gets extremely complex. There are lots of systems, many of them interact. And, you know, then it's like, I haven't even gotten to space in my game because I'm taking things kind of slow. So I've got a whole new set of concerns there. Then you get into like controlling the temperature for steam generators and managing gas pressures. There's a lot there. All right. So I actually need to take well, it's already a maybe. And right, because it did need to use the time here. Now, wait a minute, we're doing here or doing nothing? We're doing there, we're doing nothing. Then we have our maybe seconds map time. No, you're a POSIX. So this all comes down. Well, no. We only want to do something if there was a time specified in the URL. Otherwise, we don't want to compare to nothing. What we want to compare is MS map time not equal to MS seconds URL time and hope it's rounding in the appropriate direction. All right, so we've lost yesterday mode here. And, hey, time is advancing. I don't know where it's advancing right now. Ah, here. I might not necessarily see a whole lot. Well, actually, if there's people here, we might see some of the map changing. Yeah. Or if any of these were short-lived people, just Sid's babies, you'll see them fade out. But that is actually able to advance time. All right, what else were we doing? I think I lost part of my thread here. Well, my playback needs to update the URL and do that properly. We were trying to have it auto start on yesterday mode, which it does. Yesterday mode. All right, so the other note I got a couple of extra icons. We got cancel circle, which should kind of work in with this time thing to be an alternate. And I think I just got the cross as a possible alternate for data filter. Now, these are currently implemented in Leaflet Land because that's where you do the sort of on-map controls. All right, so that's going along at full frame rate. Don't necessarily need that going on. We are tracking animated state. We are not tracking sidebar state anywhere in Leaflet Land. So that's a thing. Enum toggle. All right, so we have this map button thing. Which has options. Oh, so we could actually, might just be able to change its icon? Well, if I made it re-render. And this returns a container which gets managed by Leaflet. So I might need to have... We've even got a toggle method. Well, no, that just sends the event. That can be changed outside. Where'd I hook that up? Or is that actually a Leaflet thing? Ah, this dot toggle. So one way to do this would be just to say, well, we've already got the animation toggling, where we add and remove things. So I could just make a alternate version of the animation control that has a different icon. Sends the same message. That's definitely the easiest thing to do here. Anim toggle. Animated. Static. They both send the same message. Icon. So in animated mode, it's going to be, is it cancel circle or circle cancel? Cancel circle. Okay, so one of these is going to be remove. You have to remove both of them. So if it's animated, we add animated. We add static, remove animated, and then remove static, remove animated. All right, now, since the sidebar state is currently Elm only, it begs the question of whether this should be kind of moved into an overlay thing on the Elm side. And my biggest disincentive for that is that I have this fade out effect applied to leaflet controls after a certain amount of time. And if I do an overlay in Elm, it's not going to be subject to that. All right, so that was the easy one. Toggle anicon change. It's a different kind of fade. Is this a style with all CSS animation? Yeah, I think he might be a little bit involved in his game. Ah, idle. Okay, so we're adding this to the map container right now. I could probably arrange for that to have another class that ended up subject to the same style rule. It'd be a little bit annoying to have two implementations of things, but maybe I could actually just move that button. Well, I guess the real issue would be placement. Because like this, it avoids this placement, this avoids this placement, other things stack on top of that, so we have to deal with placement. But otherwise, the JavaScript just doesn't need to know about the sidebar. So another thing I've thought about is actually having like a closed on the sidebar somewhere. In which case, this could maybe stay alone. So that's picking up like all the leaflet behavior right now. It's strictly sending it up to Elm. You know what? I don't necessarily want to deal with this right now. There are a couple of other little things that keep coming to mind. Improve the time model might still need some work. I have a very long list. Oh, this is a very old list also. All right, so let's see. Server URL link. Oh, having that in the URL bar. Rendering map data. I want to get back to biome generation. So I don't know how necessarily big these are going to be. Now, did I? That's just notes, okay. Legend for lineages might not be too bad, and that's kind of a current concern. Although it is going to vary with time, so that could make it a bit tricky. So there's point overlay, and there's anim overlay. Actually, they both use the same class. Only one of them is going to be operating at a time. So that is update tiles. This, no, we probably want to do a single pass somewhere else. But we might want to do visibility, which would sort of come down to which tiles are we updating. And how do I do legends? I don't call it legend. This would have to be part of data layer. Set data layers. Oh, I called it data range. No, that's something else. Maybe it's a hook event in data overlay. Okay, color scale. What are you running off of? You're running off of a big switch, which only has certain types of options, does not include lineage. Okay, so you get options about all this stuff, but none of that depends on time currently. Oh, and I should probably update options. Color scale control. Add control, remove control. All right, so this is already scanning through the data. So that could give us like a base default set for that. But many times it's going to be an extremely long list. But I guess you got to start somewhere. Then again, if we're going to do the stuff we're drawing, that's either draw or it's something else. So we don't have like a overall init process here. And it probably is, I just haven't been using it yet. We kind of want to dedupe these. So for any point we draw, let's see, do I have a family trees, arcs, oh, epoch 0, yeah, I could maybe, sure. It's probably just lineage. And I might want to, because that might be a number. We effectively want to treat this as a dedupable thing. Oh, I need the name. Hmm. So we'd probably like the lowest gen person around. Let's start with that. When we do update tiles, we reset that. And this means we're going to have to do live updates of the scale. But that might get it for the static case. Point overlay redraw, set options. You do a redraw on set point color. Wait, I do point overlay redraw twice. Anim overlay. You know, I probably copied that down for color scale control. Do you have a redraw? Yeah, that probably is what that was. Supposed to be. All right, so we've drawn point overlay more recently. Probably need a better system for this. I guess it's not really a private variable then. Maybe what we need, since we do have color scale controls somewhat public, but this might work once here. All right, case, lineages. Do we? No, we don't define. Okay, so that was just a two-piece range. This is at least a loop. So you got a couple of them. Okay, background color. I don't have a way to color this right now. Time min max, hash dot slice. Okay, we could just take the keys for colors, which we have to do anyway. Although we have to convert them back into numbers. Oh, we've got the point, and the point has a lineage color. So having it be a life is kind of nice. Actually, this is... We can't just for each this as an object. We've got... Well, I mean, that is still true. But if that's a null, you might not be happy. Can't convert to undefined object. Yep. This is really just going to be one person. Color lineage, life.lineage. You know, HTML, we'll do just life.name. Which is going to be messy right now. This is undefined. Oh. Okay. You know what? For as much as we reference options, which I could almost stick the stuff back in options. Okay, we do not have a thing here. Let's see what I ask is, okay, at the end of this, do we have something? That looks like a nothing. So what are you doing? Ah. Well, we haven't drawn anything yet. And this is actually dangerously spammy. Oh, you never call update tiles. And redraw is a system, is a leaflet thing, I think. Or not. That's color scale. Yeah, it looks that way. And you still need to reset. So point overlay redraw. This should be where we got actual data. Undefined? Really? Oh, it's probably asynchronous when each tile draws. So if we could... I don't know if it's enough. Now we've got something. So I don't really know when this is done. So probably I need to stop trying, well... I'll need a separate process to do currently visible in frame. But we can I need something with that. We're already analyzing all of them for min-max. So we can get the static version quite easily. And then maybe we want to do some farthest ancestor. You know, in theory. When we don't mess up. Okay, well that's data. Lineage, well that messed everything up, but I still think we had some ordering problems there. Oh, you know what? You're probably lineage, aren't you? Yeah, that's where I was getting mixed up. Uh, okay. Okay, you've got data, but lineage color. There's a little bit of abstraction there. And lots of unnamed people, apparently. Probably... Well, I might never see the bottom of that. Yeah, so this is why I need to filter it on time. I guess it's sort of interesting to see some of these colors here, but so we well, if you go back in history, there's people with various suffixes. So I can't necessarily solve the naming problem just yet. But we do when we update tiles in a timed layer. Discord with infinite time? Yep, that's his. That's mine. All right, so we've got this. I might need to track redraws. Yeah, well, we have some unfortunately close colors here. It's not a perfect algorithm. It'd be really useful when you do the time limiting. And maybe... Ooh, yeah, I want to sort these by either number of members or generation or something. I guess if they're in birth order, we'll sort of necessarily have the bigger ones as being the most recent example. Anyway, time limiting is probably the more... Well, I need to cut this off at some reasonable size. Time limiting is going to be update tiles. Or actually I have a global, I have arc update tiles. Yeah, anim overlay update tiles. Point overlay, well, that kind of follows from looks like arc update tiles. That goes through all the tiles. That definitely has a time. So that is definitely a timed version, although we have to have a way to reset it when we switch back. What? That's a non sequitur. So anyway, data. Options.data. I probably need a function for this. Okay, so your bound data, that's sort of... oh, we might lose this here. I could do the same thing as this. Oh, but then we have to do the array lookup. I mean, fine. It's not... It's just... Yeah, you've got the data. Well, I'm already doing one loop there. Now we have to do the lookup in it. And we actually do that twice. Okay, actually that is ID in data. Actually, you're going to be more of an index. And I probably shouldn't be doing quite this big a set, but l.util.set options in color scale control. This is where you probably could use an update method of your own. Okay, well, that's arc. That's... Well, there's redraw getting called. Oh, but we're not actually doing time check. So we've got... Point.birth time, death time. Fade time might be a configurable thing. Let's see, these are probably still in seconds. So 1 hour. We're kind of assuming we've got time because we have the milliseconds here. Now you were structured as the reverse of this to do an early escape. But that's a millisecond. We also had time. Okay, so that needs to update as well. Oh, I never cleared out. Oh, I'm probably missing a break. Because I copied the top of another section. Like, who's called newer? And last arc. So we'd really just want to see a family name here. rather than like the most recent. But that does give you a sense of the families. Now, some of these could be tutorial. We don't have the... And there's probably a leaflet method that can do like some sort of range check on something to see if it's in the view. But it's start. And that doesn't update either, so... Oh. And we didn't stop playing when we ended animation mode. So that's a little oopsie. All right, so I've got a console.log in my redraw. I've got a thing where I'm calculating lineages. That's probably set data layers? If I want to extract that. I probably need to have a limit when we are in there. All right. But in that case, we'd want to be sorting to the largest ones. All right, so first, when we toggle animated, if animated equals false, then we need to be stopped. Else, it can just be as you were. Wait, that probably works on this as well. Assuming that we can actually see stuff happening here. Well, it could still be technically time ticking, but... Okay, I might have a compiler error here. Or maybe I reloaded too soon. Okay. Oh, because this is view toggle animated, we also have a leaflet message. That does the same thing. And is unfortunately actually a toggle. And We have to use that. Else model.player to maintain the same sort of interpretation, or the parity of code. Okay, we have stopped. All right, so lineage legend. I kind of don't like to get a reasonable label. We kind of have to tackle the name problem. If life.name we want words 1 or word 0. I mean, I guess you could have had, John the Second. The game probably has code to deal with this, right? I thought I had seen it somewhere. Okay, that's for construction of names. Or I might have to go back to when that was a thing. It could have been completely removed. Lifelog player data. Well, if we could find out the variable used for player names. The name of, well, maybe that protocol actually changed. Aha. Name has suffix. Only keep the last name if it contains another space. So he actually tracked a variable that you didn't have to figure it out for first principles. Suffix. Get unique cursable name. Old code. Add suffix to make unique. Roman numeral, generation, player name string, num names equals 1, find a totally unique name, num names equals 2. We have a special case for eaves. Doesn't even have 2 parts. Maybe there's not code in here that like actually breaks it up. Oh, a space count greater than 1, remove suffix from the end. What's this? That's just space count, so it wouldn't handle the John II case. Yeah, so the server knows all about that. I don't know if anything else really deals with it. Nope, that's just in the dictionary. So if we go back and there's a John II, I mean, I could look for common Roman things and try to filter those out. Okay, so that takes care of that in a pretty typical case. Oh, geez. I'm probably not going to tackle the height limit because that really wants to depend on the window size. Which gets you into all the resize events and stuff. All right, that seems to be a useful feature. Small but useful. Okay. Then we probably... Well, let's see. Counting the members in the family is... You either want the oldest family or the largest family. If you're looking at a whole bunch of stuff. Now you are just values. So this is where we want to do a sort first, but I need... Well, generation is a lot easier for me to get. I think we just got a chain. So the way I'm doing it right now is like the most recent member of the family, which means we automatically get... Well... No, because if we build a new list of only the current people, it'll be current generation. Indentation is hard. So So if we do a sort function, I think, and you see, I don't necessarily know what, well, I guess seeing these things drop to the bottom should kind of tell us if it's right or not. Okay. Oh no, you need A and B. I forget if it's B minus A or A minus B. Okay, there's a couple of nameless up there. Or lineages. Yeah, I don't know. Every once in a while, we get this really, really slow response. Maybe I didn't hit it? Oh yeah, because the button should be off. That didn't really change anything. Okay. So. One, 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 one. Okay, so lots of. I should almost just filter out the ones. So the most recent member of our largest families was nameless? Oh, Okay, so that's the right sort order, and that makes sense. What the heck happens here? I don't think I'm gathering the data differently. But there's obviously... And those could have been the same big families. Oh, no, you got to 55, and then somebody else. I mean, the oldest families are changing. Until that one died out rather suddenly, actually. Now, two similar colors. So why is that working? And my initial state is not working. Is it not actually an ordered traversal? Point.lineage to string, data for each point. Why does having all of history mess this up? Maybe I'm not getting these in the ordered series. Oh, they're ordered by birth time. So it might have been like a SIDS. That would still be generation, though. They weren't necessarily the last of them alive. Oh, the SIDS babies might not have gotten a name. So we might want to prefer people with names. All right, I do need to consolidate this, though. So I probably want a custom method on color scale that does that and the redraw. Oh. But there'll be a lot of ways of processing if we're not using lineages. So maybe you get a copy of the data. I need a custom method to set the data. And then you can process it if you need, well, you need the data and the time. Which we would only be hitting you with when it's in time mode, but there's still all the state transitions. Okay. First up is consolidation of code. Oh, you're farther indented than other stuff. Oh, did I like copy you from somewhere? Function of data and time. Maybe you should have your data. Okay. So at startup, now you see this is a time-based version of it. So this is one of those things where it's kind of like if time else we just do that. Maybe this is where we switch this back. A little extra computation there. And we don't necessarily need that. Oh, and if this is... Well, actually, now we can pull this out here and do if... If we have a time, we might need to time limit it. Set options, lineages. So this becomes color scale. Well, this is everything set map time, which maybe it shouldn't. And it's going to be another loop, but oh well. You get as data again. So that should at least consolidate that. Lineages is not defined. Oh. There's one. We've still got this problem. That needs to update when we start. But now we've got a single place to update it at. And we're indenting everything. Update lineages. So now you get to decide that we update this, that we're sorting by generation, but we want a name. If lineage is key and lineage is key, So I guess the only case we'd care about is if not point.name, if point.name or and lineages key dot and not a name, replace it. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to solve my, well, we're not showing if it doesn't have a name. It's like just the entire data set. Oop, point.lineages. Okay, yeah, so we just got SIDs of our highest. No, there were other ones that were higher in between, though. I mean, there were several families at different times. Where's that 68, though? I almost feel like it's a different data set. It's like the ones I see are sorted properly at any given time. But you do the entire window and it's... Oh, you know what? You know what? This by default returns a 2-day period. It does that. Which wasn't in our scale. But no, we still have the problem that even with that. So I might be messing up some of my time range stuff here, but if we... Well, but in our arc before... Yeah, there's multiple families that get above that gen count. It's like, this is in our data set. We can see it. But for some reason, when we drop out of animation mode, which they don't have that resetting properly, we can't see those other high gen families. Yeah, no kidding. Well, so I was saying inner HTML. Is it possible we have to do something and at some times they are unnamed? Hey, caps lock? There you go. Okay. Okay, we're going through multiple generations of things here. All right, so I probably need to work on resetting that. When we toggle animated, and that should toggle animation controls. That is a control. I think really toggle animated intention. Oh, well, that gets called multiple times. And what data set do we use? So that's why you want to attach data to it. So that when you just update the status and it has to flip to everybody. At which point it can be figuring out its own ranges for everything else. At which point you shouldn't need to get past this. I'm going to be referencing this in a loop. There's less reason to have it actually in there. All right, so now I was doing this based on whether that time was passed. Toggle animation controls. Well, I think all of these things. Toggle animated. Yeah, I don't. Okay, it only gets called. I call it two different groups, but it only gets called in one place. But depending on if it's animated, we pass map time. Else, which makes me regret that already. Okay, nobody was born at that time, so that makes sense. And we can exit and go back to this. And now I just have I'd actually expect that to be able to do something. Because we've got a map time. So it obviously selected by it. Oh, wait. Are we possibly getting something? No, we never call update tiles on the regular point overlay. Okay, I could use a space there. I wonder if I'm getting like a different traversal order. Like maybe it's not strictly in birth order. Because that could explain it if I'm not getting ordered data back. So that would mean that where we process this, we have to be a bit more picky about how we set this. So if there is no prior, we just do it. Else if not prior dot name, maybe I could turn this into a bunch of continues. I mean, it can also kind of or together. If not prior or not prior dot name, takes care of some of them. We also want to, well, it takes care of not prior. Or point dot chain is greater than prior dot chain. We do it. No prior, no name, or a later generation. That, yeah, okay, so it's not ordered data. I was just going and making assumptions. Welcome back, Quirky. Okay, so that's the big picture of some random time period. If we properly select this and then select that, that should be the families that were in that arc. And that was the longest arc, actually. So it's interesting how people can actually swap based on their, I guess they're just the rapidness of, oh, you know what? I probably don't want this. Because if they're kind of inconsequential families, then they can just be kind of hanging out down there. Oh, we actually had a semi-consequential one there for a little bit. Now you see, I wanted the generation order so that when it goes off the bottom, the more consequential ones are at top. But that's really, really messy. Oh, it's renamed Breedy. It could be multiple families. It could be somebody who got renamed. I guess there were some eaves going on then? Oh, maybe those actually are eaves out in the tutorial. All right, so what is janky about this right now? When we toggle animated off, we don't get a proper time. Let's see, so we did fix something there. Right, so that was the effective. It seemed like it was sure unordered. All right, so we have a time. Undefined, that's what we expect. And we switch back to here. We get a time. And we don't get a result. Do we not have data for some reason? Oh, you know what? That's a millisecond time. So we should probably just go ahead and do this. And now this actually doesn't have to be done here. Oh, this is doing overwork because we're doing it when we're not doing that color. Oh, what's the default color? Part of that was to say, well, are we in a mode where we care about that? Oh. That doesn't look right. That looks right. Hmm. That was a little bit disconcerting. Did this update map time and not update map time? There are no Starks here. Where are their Starks? Okay, there's an Eve Stark at the very beginning. Which... what does that mean? Oh, you know what? That's a blind. Undefined divided by 0. might not be helping. Message.status map time. So it's going into animated mode. It's got the data. When we open up animated mode, we clearly seem to have the right time. Okay, well now we actually are set there. But now we're set here. So that's a desync between your map time and this map time. That is... might be something I have to hunt down later. All right, so got this back into its own little thing. Other thing here. Oh, okay, you know what? Actually... current time, update tiles. Okay, so Leaflet would process no tiles if there were no tiles existing. I need to be a lot more conservative about that. I mean, that kind of comes down to this in general. But I have to call that somewhere. That might be serviceable enough to use, though. So I could probably see about publishing that. Anywho, I would like to eat lunch before I go generate some of these lives. So thanks for watching. Let's see, who was it? Privet Passion Project for bringing some friends. I guess I don't do anything with host notices to call that out. But yeah, and thanks to everybody who subscribes and supports me. This is about when I tend to be on. Coding in the morning and gaming in the afternoons. Oh, Wednesday is kind of rolling off right now. That is a change. All right, so not... There's not a lot of other small coding streams going on right now. What else do we got? Uh, Looks like Borealis Aurora is doing some No Man's Sky. I've heard that's gotten a lot better. I haven't. It's kind of far down the list right now. And let's see if Twitch cannot break my interface. It looks like not broken yet. But yeah, if you're looking for someplace cool to hang out, that's someplace cool to hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye and until next time.